No Limit Records, active since 1991, origins Richmond, California, New Orleans, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Today's feature is a record label that is one of the most influential in urban entertainment history. There's no questioning No Limit's greatness throughout the 90s and their peak and dominance specifically toward the end of the decade. In 1998 alone, No Limit released a total of 23 albums, 6 went platinum and 5 gold, selling a total of 15 million copies, making an astounding $160 million by year's end. Label founder Master P's strategy of flooding the market was in peak form to say the least that year, and the demand for the pen and pixel artwork, cleaned up street gangster lyrics, and beats by the pound created its own chapter in hip-hop for No Limit Records. I always felt like Master P was really the first 50 Cent in a way, in that his hustle and underrated strategy allowed even the weakest artists to have success under No Limit's reign and umbrella. Artists like Silk the Shocker, who many feel is one of the worst rappers of all time, although I disagree. Silk has back-to-back platinum albums in 98 and 99, the latter a #1 album in the country. I believe most of all that irony speaks to the machine No Limit Records was, much times larger than even the artists it sold and represented. I say all this to give Master P his credit for being one of hip-hop's best historical representations when it comes to building a strategy yet to be seen at that point in hip-hop and seeing it through to as popular as it became, where the competition at the time and labels to follow adapted pieces, even most of the strategy to have their own success. Labels like Bad Boy Records, a legend in their own right, and at one point No Limit's biggest competition, reminds me strategically a lot of No Limit in a strong business-minded head and a high quantity of music released in such short times that made the most profit. Cash Money Records as well, who came after No Limit and took their label to the place No Limit could have went as far as longevity. Even Bad Boy didn't have the longevity of a Cash Money Records, with 2 of the biggest male hip-hop artists ever in Lil Wayne and Drake, and the biggest female hip-hop artist ever in Nicki Minaj still signed to the label. It's impressive the heights Master P has been able to reach and the accomplishments of his artists, especially when they didn't have a blueprint to follow for the strategy the label chose. With the business mind of Master P, I'm surprised No Limit didn't find a way to dominate in the 2000s the same, or no longer have that presence in hip-hop today. What happened? How'd this great strategy / label fall? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. No Limit Records was founded in 1991 by Master P and filed for bankruptcy by 2003. But in that span, their success was unprecedented. Master P was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, a natural hustler, and always had the vision of using whatever he could to achieve financial success. A businessman at heart, his first vehicle was basketball, which he used to get him a scholarship to the University of Houston, where he soon dropped out and transferred to Merritt College in Oakland, California to study business. There, he opened a record store called No Limit Records and Tapes from a $10,000 inheritance. After his brother died, he decided to venture more seriously into building a rap career and label, one that aspired to make the most money out of the business, not necessarily chasing acknowledgement or awards for being the best rappers. As Master P once said when interviewed in 1999, once you've developed an audience, you take everything you got and milk it, which is the hustler thing to do, but what happened when they milked their cash cow too much? It died and left No Limit scrambling. Stunt number 1, quantity over quality. To me, Master P's statement made to Fortune magazine at the height of No Limit makes a lot of sense in hindsight, because that's exactly what he did over the years, rarely concerned how the music would be critiqued or how long it lasted over the test of time. His focus was to put out as much albums he could as a label, so no matter how they did, or how fans felt about it, or how blogs reviewed it, they were guaranteed to make a substantial profit. He even used this same approach in his movies and products. Having as many as possible put out was more important than any of them being good. He was in the perfect era to do so because of how getting music to consumers worked back in the 90s. In those days, you had to actually go out and buy physical albums. There was no streaming from a website or even illegally downloading them from the internet just yet. This meant once you bought the album, they as a label made a certain percentage. It didn't matter how you felt about the album, how well it was reviewed, how much mics the source gave it, or even if you turned it into a weed plate because you hated it. That $10 to $15 was spent and set money was made regardless. Today, with streaming the main music supply to consumer, you can listen to an album one time or one song from the album a few times, decide it's not for you, and it costs you little to no money, while the artist gets paid pennies on the dollar and are dependent on the amount of streams they receive. This makes sales much more unpredictable and as a businessman would have likely frustrated Master P. With that said, he decided to milk that era he was in and put out increasingly more music per year than anyone else. As he says, he never wanted to be the best lyricist, he wanted to be the best businessman, the best hustler, and I think that hurt the quality of their releases, also the development of their artists. They all sold early in their career, but found it hard to build a loyal fan base that could last after it was realized they could care less about making great music. This is why they didn't have a successful rapper in the 2000s other than Lil Romeo, who had a popular start, but even he was disappointing, never going platinum and just one gold album. Stunt number 2, not developing a future. In that same mindset of milking the game while you can came a very costly mistake for the No Limit brand. In the process of becoming rich, they didn't have a plan for the future. Like asked earlier, when that cash cow dies from being over-milked, what will you have then? No Limit found their cash cow in rap music, even branched out to finding other cows like movies, products, books, investment classes, and whatever else, but they didn't see to it that those cows reproduced in their prime in order to secure they eat in the future as well. Before Lil Romeo came along, Silk the Shocker was their flagship youthful artist, and even he by his second platinum album was in his mid-20s. His prime rap age, and would only release 2 albums in the 2000s, one in 2001 and one in 2004. Both didn't even achieve gold status. This is one area I credit most to Cash Money in how they saw that flaw in Master P's strategy and made sure they took some Jermaine Dupri lessons focusing on the youth as a way to always remain young and relevant in the game. Cash Money had Turk and Wayne when BG and Juvie were the main artists of the now as their future. Wayne ended up being the best thing to ever happen to Cash Money and even reproduced in Drake and Nicki Minaj, who became the stars of today. No Limit only had Romeo, and he himself I don't think ever naturally wanted to be a rapper. When his career faded, No Limit was cooked as far as a future. Master P focused too often on getting what he could in the moment and overlooked the process of setting up longevity. Because of this, the label failed in that department, especially when Master P realized there was other ways to make the same kind of money. Stunt number 3, losing their sound. Another underrated element to why the popularity and relevance began to run out entering the 2000s was No Limit losing their sound, literally. In 1999, No Limit's production team Beats by the Pound, that included producer KLC, who produced some of No Limit's biggest songs and albums like Make 'Em Say, F the Mother, Ice Cream Man, Ghetto D, True to the Game, and much more. Apparently, Master P wanted his producers to sign to him long-term as artists, but when they refused, he could be overheard saying negative things toward them allegedly, and they all decided to venture off outside No Limit. From there, No Limit's sound completely changed and didn't have the same simplistic appeal. Many No Limit artists also became frustrated being ordered not to work with those producers and weren't comfortable working with others. The No Limit sound and image was the brand, maybe even bigger than its artists. So losing that most important feature, No Limit became just like everyone else in sound, seeing as now they had to go out and get beats from outside producers who usually duplicated beats or a new sound and sold it to whoever was buying. All in all, No Limit had a successful run lasting through the 90s and sprinkles in the early 2000s. But the same things that brought them success also caused their demise. A strong will, hustle, business-first mindset, and stubbornness by Master P. Something you need to survive the music business, but something that didn't allow necessary change and resulted in a lot of music, but hardly lasting quality of work. Either way, legends in the game, so I have to say salute, much respect. But for these reasons, their growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.